We just have to say, technical issues in the studio today.
In truth, we are learning.
In
We've
truth,
never live streamed really, the two
yeah,
of us. And so this is a journey of probably, bumps. But here's the good thing. We are learners and we experiment. So we're
yeah,
okay with failure, because what does failure do? It makes you stronger and more successful. And every time we get off, we do something what we learn with it. So, got something in my eye. Lovely. Well, our topic for today is remote working.
yeah.
And happy or not. So, welcome everyone in our live event as kicking off a series that we're going to do a number of live events around this topic because we think it's a really hot topic right now, right?
Yeah, it is.
So,
it is a hot topic and everybody talks about it, and there's so many opinions out there, so we might as well start laying them out here because, come on, we have to have this conversation.
yeah, and at the end of the day, it's choices, as I always say. And everyone has very valid reasons of why it might make them happy or why it might not make it not happy. So which one do we want to cover first? You want to talk about maybe the different types of remote working that we're seeing out there in companies?
Yeah, we can start with that. And then I would also want to start with how people felt as we all started to work remotely because of the lockdown, and how that changed over time, because that's also interesting to discuss.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's start with the different ways of remote working that we have seen so far. What do you want to start sharing?
Well, I think we could talk about the companies on the West Coast of the United States that's been pretty prominent. The Googles, the Facebooks. What other company out there that has, started offering permanent remote working?
Yeah.
And it's really
Microsoft as well.
that
probably
came
the
out.
tech industry is ahead because they have the technology in place, I guess. And they were more prepared, I think.
Yeah, and it might be also just the nature of the business,
Yeah.
right? They probably already realized that even though they love everyone to be physically there, they've already started opening offices around the world, right? So you have Atlassian that has offices everywhere. And they're another company, by the way, that has decided to do more remote working in their culture, which they were where you have to actually be there. And remote was something that wasn't an option. I remember many years ago when Atlassian came out, I always wanted to work there. I thought it was like, oh my God, they're so cool. I mean, who puts, in their values, don't fuck with the customer? I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I'll stop right there.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, a lot of them have done more of the hybrid approach with those companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's really more allowing a people first type of approach to a company and allowing choices, because a lot of people that live in the Bay Area, they have to commute. They don't necessarily live in the areas where these businesses are. It's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
And so most people can't even afford to live in the parameters of where these companies are. And it makes it a lot more affordable to be able to work from Sacramento, for example. I've known people that commute from Sacramento to San Francisco to work. And that's like a 2-hour with no traffic. I can't imagine like trying to do it with traffic. Right. So a lot of people are very joyous to not have to spend a lot of time in their car. And I think this is other parts of the United States. I'd be curious of what's happening there in Canada, where no one wants to spend 6 hours of their life just commuting to go to work.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a big point for happy. for people being happy about remote work. And especially initially, it was like, oh, yeah, perfect. I want to work from home and I can work from home now. And yeah, it's all bliss. I think that was for people who weren't used to this model, it was something, and we both know that there have been companies that didn't allow people to work from home, right? They didn't have this flexibility.
Oh, I used to
And
make excuses just so
they
I could work from home.
yeah, right. I mean,
The repair
so,
guy is coming.
but it was, I think, suddenly it was like, okay, yeah, I can work from home. And initially, it was this. What I also noticed, and also in people that I worked with, is they were so happy about this possibility. Right? It was also flexible. They didn't have to commute. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
And initially, it was a great point to start at. And then it's very interesting how for some people or some companies, the fact that they were remote working, that was great because they could still do the work, but it moved from the happy to the not happy for
Yeah.
some of them. And it was a lot of okay, I can work from home, but how am I supposed to work from home with all the family around me? I don't actually have a desk that I can work from. I have the kids around me, and we've seen a lot of videos and a lot of instances where kids would just bump in, and it's fine. I think it made us more flexible and more accepting with one another because we were sharing our home space, our private space, what we would call personal space, with other people from work or with clients, not just coworkers, right? So it was a lot of sharing my personal space, which a lot of people didn't feel they had. That was a good space for them to work from, because it
Yeah.
was like with everybody at home, what are you supposed to do first? And that's when things started moving from, oh, wow, I'm so happy that I can work from home and maybe go with my child somewhere during the day, or maybe take my dog out for a walk, or stuff that I was only dreaming I could do during the day because I was at work. And then that moved to, you know what? I miss my office. I miss my desk. I miss my stuff. I miss my space where I can focus and actually get to do the work. Plus, I miss seeing people in person, and that's another discussion.
Yeah. I think of everything as everyone deals with it in a different way when it comes to change.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't lie, I had a hard time when I had my first primary remote coaching, um, since I do agile coaching
Mm-hmm.
right now. And it was tough for me because I had to figure out the connections that I would have, like the hallway talk and all these different things, because when you first start engagement, it's extremely important to build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was great to go through this where it was hard, but I can tell you right now, after I did it one time and then I did it a second time and now I do it a third time and fourth time, I have figured out how to adjust and create relationships in a virtual way. It is possible. And look, video. One of the things that I see a lot is that people will avoid getting on video. They are uncomfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm going to say to everyone that's listening. Get comfortable, because it's not going to change.
Yeah.
And I talk about that and when I careers and understanding your purpose and how you are showing up. If you are still functioning on a resume, paper, get a job, we live
Yeah.
in a social platform world. And now we're starting to actually now turn into a video world. Look what LinkedIn did when it did LinkedIn stories. And so I think we are in a shift right now when it comes to remote working,
Mm-hmm.
where everyone is adjusting to it because it's foreign to people. Oh my God, I actually have to get on video. Do I have to look cute? Do I have to look, can I look like a mess? So a lot of times when I'm working, I haven't even taken a shower. There's times where I've been so busy. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't even had time to brush my teeth yet, and I had to get on. But you know
We'll
what?
put that
That's
in the happy.
life.
Yeah, I mean, you can. And that's the thing, right? It takes less time to prepare to actually get down to work because
Yeah,
you can, right? So that is more, I think that is more available and it's faster. It's readily available if you want. One other thing, a downside to that, if you want, is that people started to work all throughout the day. So you
yeah,
don't get, even those who were used to having a 9 to 5 schedule, when they started to work from home, that 9 to 5 wasn't there anymore. And that's where I see in the work that I do with some of the organizations is I've seen them transition from having to go to the office 9 to 5, then working remotely, and they didn't know how to manage that effectively so that their teams wouldn't feel overwhelmed and burnt out because they had a lot of work to do. So it's
yeah,
not like the workload for some companies, unfortunately, it was that, sorry, they didn't have enough work to do. But for others, it was more work than before because it was also more strategy and more planning and more what we can do next because obviously we need to change some things in the new
yeah.
model.
I wanted
So
to call out that we have some people on your Facebook page, it looks
okay,
like.
yeah,
And again, and we are newbies, we're experimenting. So this is why I'm pausing right now because I want to make sure that we're engaging with the people that are actually joining us. So
yeah.
hello, can you
Thank you
see?
for joining. Thank you for
Yeah,
watching.
yeah,
Ask your questions and put your comments in.
yeah. So just we're trying to test things out. So if you could just say hello, just so that we know you're
Yeah,
there. We want to make sure our chat
exactly.
messaging is working in our restream. So it looks like we have somebody on Periscope. We have some 3 people on Facebook. So
Thank you, people,
huh?
for joining us.
Yeah. So it's
So
let's make
I,
sure
because we
our
were talking
chat's
about,
working.
I wanted to, I wanted to share something here.
Yeah. And then we can all
Uh,
talk about even the article Dropbox that I came across that
yeah,
someone shared
yeah,
where it's even beyond the hybrid models. They went
yeah.
completely virtual. But remember when I said the word choice as you're bringing that up?
Hmm.
They took a stance where it's all about choice. And what they wanted to do was allow all the different types of people. They didn't want to alienate somebody that wanted to go into the office or somebody that didn't. And so they left it more on a choice. They have community spaces. It's a
Yeah.
great article. Look it up. I think this one was actually CNN Business that I'm looking at,
Hmm.
and why they thought that it was a better approach than a hybrid model. And it was really more of creating inclusivity and having diversity,
Right.
where they felt that they didn't want to put the pressure of coming in versus not, because they wanted it to be where they eliminated just even designating that, if I read that
Hmm.
right.
So I don't know how visible that is because I don't know how to put it in full screen mode. But anyway, what I want to say here is that WeWork did a study on work from home impact. And the numbers are very interesting here. So 90% of people interviewed by them said they want to return to the office at least 1 day per week.
Oh, wow.
20% of that group wants to return 5 days a week. So 90% want to return to the office at least 1 day per week. So I think that's an interesting conversation as you were also talking about different ways of remote work, because it can be a hybrid, but what do you do and how happy are you moving from one change to the next? Because one thing happened when people started to work from home, and then they got used to that, and now they transition to working both from home and from the office. And that's another thing, because now you have to adapt to this change as well. And for those organizations that don't cater to the needs of the team, and they don't communicate with the team regularly, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And if they don't see it now, they will probably see it in a few months from now.
Yeah. And another thing I want to point out is everything is subjective and a person's perspective based on what's happening at the moment working remotely. So those of you that never probably done it before and you got thrown into this situation, your kids aren't in school or daycare is not happening, everyone's home, and it really wasn't your typical situation.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot. I would say that you and I, being game changers, we're pretty open to change. We don't freak out. There's a lot of people out there that will take their current situation in a very narrow, and that is their opinion is based on that experience.
Yeah.
And so I probably want to acknowledge and remind people is your experiment is not over yet. Because until you can get in a situation, which is what I would call a little bit more typical, and you're comparing an atypical situation and saying, I don't like it, try doing it when the kids are back in school, everyone's at work, and your world is probably a little bit more in comparison to what's actually happening in the pandemic today. I talk to people all the time where they will always associate that experience to what's happening in the pandemic and not being open to what does it look like if you weren't in the pandemic working remotely. So I think those of you that have, said, no, I don't like it, ask yourself, are you one of those that are comparing it to an atypical situation versus typical situation?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think we were so suddenly hit by this that we didn't have time to adjust, because there's a difference between change and crisis. I mean, when we don't like change anyway as people, right? We're very reluctant to change typically. Some of us might be early adopters, but still, change is very difficult to digest. So when change happens, you can take it step by step if it's a normal kind of change in your normal environment. When crisis comes, there's the sense of emergency because you don't have time. There is no adjustment time. Pretty much overnight.
You were thrown in the deep end.
Yeah, we went to remote working overnight. So you have to think on your feet. And I think that was, you can do it, but it's tiring. It might be overwhelming if you have to do it over and over again.
Is good at that, in truth.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of the things that, as Agile coaches and we go into organizations, a lot of people always think it's the practices, right? Oh, I got to learn Scrum. Oh, I got to learn, how to do something, and very tactical thinking. Mm-hmm. But in truth, what we're actually trying to teach you is what we're talking about right now. What happens when something you didn't expect to do? How easily can you adapt? How comfortable are you with experimenting, right? And being okay with failure. I mean, I don't even know if our chat messaging is working right now. I don't know if, I get on these live events. I'm just proving a point right now.
Yeah, I know.
That how do you say, oh, hi to X, Y, and Z? Do I have to open up every single one of these social media platforms so I can see actually who's online right now? Because we're doing it through Restream? I don't know these answers, but you know what? I'm okay. It's not perfect. And we're probably messing it up right now, but it is what it is. And so at the end of the day, we have to respect what everyone is going through on a personal level with us. And I think that's what's really important is the human side. And what Roxanne and you and I always care about is we need to make sure that we are creating awareness of, yes, you are being impacted, but also being aware of how it's impacting others. Like, I wasn't even thinking about the parents that are been thrown in, and now they're like, oh, congratulations, you're a teacher now.
Yeah, perfect.
Right? Oh, I'm sure they're loving remote right now.
Not to mention, so wait, there's better or worse, depends how you want to put it.
Yeah.
Teachers who are parents, and then they're teaching, and they have their own kids at home that they're supposed to teach. So it's like, it's perfect.
So this conversation in remote, they're probably like, seriously, get me out of here. I remember the 80s commercials, Calgon, Take Me Away, where the woman goes in her like that. And I mean, they're probably, and I wouldn't say just the moms, it's the dads too, right? A lot of whoever was always in the office all the time and never really had to deal with the chaos. So maybe if you have a dynamic where somebody stays at home and someone is actually away in the office, they are probably having a hard time dealing with that too, because they always had their own space going to work.
Yeah.
So
and
they're
just taking care of themselves, not anyone else. It's just, I need to take care of just me and my work, not.
Oh, I've had friends where they started remote teaching. My best friend, as a teacher before they moved to China, she was doing virtual teaching in schools. And she had to tell her husband, be like, look, twice a week, those babies are going to daycare. She goes, even though I'm home, I can't focus. I can't work. I get stressed out. They have to go to daycare.
Yeah.
And so that helped out her balance that sanity. So there's a lot of things I think people are learning about their dynamics and structure, just let alone remote working. I mean, relationships are being challenged. The divorce rate is up right now.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't even want to talk about suicide rate, which is awful, and wellness. So when we talk about remote working, happy or not, we can't help but bring the human side to this conversation. I don't think we're there yet, really, for the opinions.
Yeah.
We have to get past what's happening in our world right now that is atypical before we truly can form good opinions right now. And I think we are in experimentation right now.
We are. So, and the thing is, it's hard to be in experimentation mode day after day after day when when the ground is shaking beneath your feet every day. So that is, there has to be a balance. That's why self-care right now is so big, because it's like high performing athletes, right? You need to take care of your mindset, of your body, of everything, so that you can perform long term, so that you don't crash. It's that easy. We've come to that, and I don't think we ever knew how to do that properly, because we were getting into that work mode, and then that's it. It was almost like automatic.
Yeah,
it was autopilot.
And it's also being authentic of your true self going to work and being transparent of what's actually happening that day.
True. Yeah.
Most people will go to work and they don't share. And I'm not saying you have to say everything, right? Okay. Like, oh, I don't want everyone to know exactly all my business. No, but you can say, at least at a high level, enough to what you're willing to share about some, like the day that you're having. And we have to start being honest with ourselves instead of going to work and I'm going to say that split identity again, that everything is okay. Maybe it's good that you're saying it's not okay.
Yeah, that's a must-have conversation. I agree with that. And in everything that I did with everyone that I was talking to and working with, I was saying, okay, you have to address the challenges. You have to address, okay, here's what's bothering me right now. I can't focus. I can't plan. I miss working with people in the office. What can we do about it? I have people who are working together as a team on Zoom. They meet for 2 hours. They do their stuff, but they're together on Zoom, for instance.
And that is a great segue, because I know it's 8:51.
Yes,
We're going to continue this remote thing, because I think that we can peel the onion in a variety of different topics. And
yes.
we're also inviting people to come and be guests. And we actually have a guest next Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it's Monique Diaz. She's actually from South Africa. And
wow, we're getting international
awesome?
here.
Yes.
Yes.
Worldly here. And she is a fellow GCologist from the GC Index, and she has her GC Index profile. She's a polisher playmaker. And I was like, you know what? Monique would be great for what we're going to talk about next week, which is we're going to talk about how people, it's, as I call remote working, it's killing me, right? It's driving me crazy, because they have such a need to want to be around people. And so I thought it'd be great to have a different perspective. Join us in that conversation on Wednesday. So tune in next week when, and it's already there, live event on YouTube. So you can go ahead and bookmark it. I recommend subscribing to our Game Changing Work YouTube channel, so you can always be up to date with the upcoming live events. And so that one's already there. And now as we finish up, let's talk about what either myself or Roxanne is doing lately. So we'll start with you.
Yeah.
So
okay, I wanted to start with you. Okay. Talk about collaboration, right? I think, by the way, collaboration soared with remote working.
You had a webinar.
So I had a webinar, but you will get on game-changing teams and how you can measure and maximize your team's impact. You will find, for those of you who want to watch the recording of the webinar, you can connect with me either on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or you can drop me an email if you go to my website, and I can share that with you. In the meantime, if you need some resources for virtual work, you can go on my website. I have a full page of self-management resources. You're getting videos, some interesting articles, podcasts, and I have a special page for crisis management for remote work and teams. So you can check that out, and you might be getting inspired with some resources that are helpful for you.
Awesome.
Awesome. And now I want to showcase your webinar and your event.
So for me, I'm focusing on Agile Career Series. And what I'm finding is a lot of times when Agile first started, it was more of educating that it was a particular role. So for example, Scrum Master, and anyone, can have this role. What we know that going into 2020, it was on the rise of 60% of jobs, technical jobs. The top job was a Scrum Master. And so is it really a role, or is it a career now? And so what type of Scrum Master are you is where it's probably one of the first webinars that I'll have that I'm going to touch on, talking about what the type of Scrum Master you are to make an impact as a career, and talking about how it energizes you. And so I've been around a lot of Scrum Masters. I actually was one at some point. And I can tell you right now, it's not a one size fits all. And I have not always been in companies that brought me in to be a Scrum Master that I was successful in it. And then I've been in some companies where I was really successful in it. And I never really understood why. And it was because the outcomes that they were trying to achieve, I was probably not best to be aligned to be able to contribute the best in that. And I didn't know how to adjust myself in order to make that situation successful. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to dive into a lot of these types of conversations in this webinar. So it's November 4th. Click on that Eventbrite. It's going to be at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So if you are international, and hopefully that you'll be able to attend, it's not too late. We are going to be live. So come join, and hopefully we will be able to start the journey in my Agile Career Series, and really looking at how to re-energize you and get more specific in these roles.
I think
careers.
I think that's the key. I think a lot of people will resonate with that. So I'm definitely gonna join you, because I really wanna. I'm so curious about it. So you can count on me. I think a lot of people will resonate.
Oh, yay! So. I got my first person.
So we need to wrap up. I mean, we started late, so we're gonna finish a bit later today. But hey.
We don't follow rules. We're game changers. Hello.
Yeah. Okay, come on. We can break some rules. It's Friday, right?
Yeah. Yay, Friday. But hey, as we always say, you want to go to work feeling like it's Friday night every day. So, and that is the whole point. We want everyone to feel energized and happy at work, however that means to you.
Yeah. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Follow us on LinkedIn. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we go live. We go live on Facebook as well. Definitely leave your comments or suggestions or questions, and we will try to address them all in the show.
And if you're watching one of the recorded versions, we will always have in the corner our playlist of other shows for you to be able to have bingeable watching of the Game Changing Work show with us. So see you guys next time.
And have a great weekend, everybody.
Woo-hoo!
Okay.
Bye, everyone.
See you next week. Bye.